Konami officially announced Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2 on February 13th, 2026, with Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker HD Collection version and Metal Gear Ghost Babel, and it is set to launch on August 27th, 2026 for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Nintendo Switch, Switch 2, and Steam. Now, Konami also describes this as the first port of MGS4 since its original 2008 release. I know, I'm late to the party on this one by a few months. Personal life got in the way, but I still wanted to make this video because this feels like the perfect follow-up to my early video on my thoughts on MGS Master Collection Volume 2, which at that point when that video was released, they were purely speculation. And I'm not going to lie, there is a tiny part of me that is very satisfied right now, because in that early video, I speculated on what we would get in Volume 2, and as it turns out, I was pretty much on the money. And, you know, with that announcement, this means it is finally coming to modern platforms and PC, alongside Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker and as a bonus, Ghost Babel as well. So for long-time Metal Gear fans, this is genuinely fantastic news. And honestly, one of the most fascinating parts of this whole thing is that the old leaks and data mining from the Master Collection launcher were basically right. A lot of people suspected this was the direction Konami would go, and it turns out that assumption was correct. I also said MGS4 made the most sense for Volume 2, and thankfully, that is exactly what happened. So what do I think? Overall, I am very pleased, because for the first time we're finally reaching a point where this mainline Metal Gear Solid games from MGS1 through to MGS5 are all becoming playable on modern platforms and PC in an official capacity. As someone who loves this series and as someone who is also a big avid game collector, that is massively appealing to me. There's just something satisfying about seeing these games preserved properly and made accessible again. You know, GOG has made excellent strides with Capcom, basically forcing them at gunpoint to put the Resident Evil games, the originals, back on PC into storefronts, so that was excellent too. Now, this is also where things get very interesting for me, because MGS4 is not just being re-released in the same way as some of the others Konami has already released. They specifically called this the first port of the game since the original PS3 release. While Peace Walker is being listed as the HD Collection version, that distinction matters because Peace Walker already had an existing HD version to pull from. You know, the games that we got in Volume 1, specifically 2 and 3, they were ported by Bluepoint, who did the HD collection for the 360 and PS3. Now, MGS4 was not part of that. It never left the PlayStation 3, so this means it's not a simple, you know, cut and paste jobby of getting an existing HD remaster, throwing it onto Steam. This should in theory be a brand new port for MGS4, built to run outside of the PS3's notoriously awkward architecture. Now that alone is a huge deal because MGS4 has basically been trapped on PlayStation 3 for nearly 2 decades. Officially, it basically never left the platform, launching there in 2008 and staying there indefinitely until now. Now I know, yes, emulation has existed, and I did try it myself. You can emulate MGS4 and, you know, people have had some genuinely impressive results with it, but it has always been a bit of a mixed bag in my case. I got it running, I played a decent chunk of it, but between the crashes, the instability and the performance headaches, I eventually just called it a day and scrapped that entirely. So the idea of having an official PC version, that is pretty huge. Now that said, I do have concerns because as exciting as this is, I think people should keep their expectations in check. And knowing Konami, I would not go into this expecting some insanely feature-rich PC release. My biggest concern is that the port could end up being fairly bare bones, minimal graphic settings, minimal PC-specific features, the usual basics, maybe a few display options, maybe some resolution here and there, but hopefully proper audio support this time, please guys, right? But I do not think anyone should expect a dream version loaded with ultra-wide support, extensive graphical tweaks, unlocked frame rates and all that shit. All the bells and whistles right out the gate, nah. Expect something very minimal like full screen, not full screen, maybe a resolution. Now I hope I am wrong. By the way, I really would love to be wrong, so if someone from Konami is watching this video or you're listening, please prove me wrong. But the state of the Master Collection Volume 1 at launch definitely gives me a pause here. Now with that said, I do think some credit should be given where it is due, because Konami did actually patch Volume 1. They did improve it by quite a lot. They also released an updated HD texture pack or something like that for the collection. And from the little testing that I have done, it does look much better than the AI upscaled textures, which are available as a mod. Now, I do not think it is dramatic enough to warrant a full standalone video from me, but I can say at least it is in a better state than it was, and I would recommend it a lot more now than I would have at launch or back when I made my last video covering it. Especially MGS3. Konami announced Volume 1 updates on the same day as the Volume 2 review as well, and they dropped that update, and I think that's it. There's no more updates. Now, I think only MGS3 got the HD texture pack. I'm not sure why they left MGS2 in the dust, but hey, it is what it is. So where do I land on all of this? I am honestly optimistic but cautious. On one hand, this is brilliant news. MGS4 and Peace Walker coming to modern platforms is something fans have wanted for years. MGS4 especially felt like the last big missing piece. The game that was permanently chained to a dead hardware. No offense, of course, to the PlayStation 3 because it was a fantastic console, but seeing that chain finally broken is a huge win for preservation for PC players and for the series as a whole. On the other hand, this is still Konami, and I feel like they have been a little bit lazy with the Master Collection Volume 1 at least. You know, only took them, what, 3 years to patch it? Or 3 years almost to patch it and make it fully playable, or at least acceptable. And until we see how MGS4 actually performs and what options are available and what the port is like, I think it's safe to say, you know, stay a little guarded. So yeah, be excited, I definitely am, but also maybe keep those expectations reasonably managed. We've been burnt once before with the first volume. And because at the very least, in a worst case scenario, even if it turns out to be a bad port, we're still getting 2 absolute classics brought forward to modern platforms officially. And if Konami fails, modders will succeed and they'll probably fix this up like they did the Volume 1 of the Master Collection. So that is that. Thank you for watching, and yeah, hopefully we'll tune in August to play through Metal Gear Solid 4 together.